Welcome to Startup Passport by Econsulate. This is organized in connection with the AI Asia Summit organized by SLASSCOM Sri Lanka. And today we have Dr. Madhusudhanan Baskaran, who is head of AI at IIT Madras Pravartak, as well as he's a part of BharathGen. Welcome to the show. So thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here. I'd like to ask first about your role in IIT Madras as well as BharatGen.
Okay. So I am a adjunct professor in IIT Madras. I teach in the medical science and technology uh, no, uh, division or no as a course, MST course. I also head the AI operations for IITM Pravartak. IITM Pravartak was incubated through IIT Madras and uh, Department of Science and Technology for conducting translational research and enabling startups. So I do help a lot of startups. I also do a lot of translational research and through Pravartak for various central government organizations. I am also part of BharatGen, which is where India is trying to build its own GPT, large language models focused on India.
Right. And I'd like to ask first about the current hype in AI, and it has probably transpired from ChatGPT's launch,
Yeah.
but it has been there for a while. And now you mentioned about BharatGen. Could you elaborate a bit more about the hype that you also spoken at the breakout session?
Okay. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it became well known when the first chat GPT was released. But we have been working on GPTs since 2018. However, once the first chat GPT was released and the common man started using it, lot of hype was generated. It was assumed that chat GPT can literally solve all business problems. And today the models are growing in size, larger and larger, right? You spoke about 5 billion parameter models. Now we are talking about trillion parameter models. It has its own challenges. Looking from countries like India, Sri Lanka, we do have the own challenges because it consumes a lot of energy. We are speaking of huge computing power, even for simple inferencing. And maybe they are accurate to a certain extent, 92, 94, 96, whatever numbers you want to give, but it's never 100% accurate. And the hype today is built on the assumption that uh, it can solve all the problems. Right now, yes, for creative content creation, we have GPTs giving us very beautiful answers. However, if I look at a domain specific problem, let us say I'm looking at the problem of agriculture in Sri Lanka. So 25 years from now, the food production has to increase by at least 50%. Today's production has to increase by 50% for feeding the entire people of Sri Lanka. And this is where AI is going to help and will definitely help. But the challenge is, what about the error that it generates? I might talk about 92% accurate, 94% accurate, because today you all look at ChatGPT and you trust the answer is correct. I can prove n number of times or enough number of times that the answers can be wrong. Right? You have the hallucination problem. And of course, the cost, the huge cost. If you try to put it into a business model, how do we address all the challenges? Right? Let us say you're starting a business. You're using one of these large foundational models which you are getting at a very low price because they are well funded. Maybe they are doing it at a loss, and somebody sees you. Maybe you create a beautiful music as a product advertisement, you run it across, and one fine day somebody claims that you have plagiarized his data. How do we handle this? This is $1 million question. This is something for which we don't have answers. But more importantly, whether you look at it from different perspectives, you take a specific domain, let us say agriculture, it becomes critical that the data from Sri Lanka is important for the model to predict about the requirements of Sri Lanka. You cannot just take data that a model that has been highly trained on public data and try to use it. It might hallucinate, it might give you wrong answers, it may not really solve the problem that you're looking at. So the data is going to be critical. Look at small models, domain specific models. I have a agriculture LLM or a generative AI. I have a system for optimizing the industry processes in Sri Lanka. All that is possible, right? But the data becomes important. Clean data becomes more important.
I want to ask a follow-up question from where you started and ended that answer. You spoke about small models. Now, SLMs have become a recent topic, the specialized or small language models. Do we need these 3 trillion parameters or like 10 trillion parameters all the time to solve problems that are localized for a particular region?
Yeah. So as you reduce the parameters, the amount of data required to train also becomes lesser and lesser. So I'd be more happy with training with about 1 million records, high quality records without error, manually annotated, and evaluated that the data is correct. That on a small model will definitely perform way better to solve a business problem. But if you are looking from the perspective of, say, a creative content writing or creative, something where creativeness is involved, where then maybe larger models are good. But if you're looking for solving a business problem which is not creative, which is more into engineering, I would prefer having a smaller model trained on data, specific data. I can give you some use cases. One of the use cases, we have done some work for the Supreme Court of India, and the model has been trained on the data from the Supreme Court, which may not be available in the public domain. So data is becoming the new gold.
You also spoke about BharathGen being an isolated or like an independent GPT provider or like a solution provider for the region. How do you think that will disrupt the fact that it is isolated from OpenAI or like the larger models coming from the West?
Okay, so BharathGen looks more from the Indian localization perspective. We are looking from Indian data, curating Indian data, putting across data to in the public domain so others can also use this data, and basically build a foundational model that can be India centric. And this is something which I feel even Sri Lanka has to do when you're talking of small models. And I do understand the challenges of digitization. You have a lot of documents, right? You have to build the ecosystem so that every country has their own model which localizes the problem.
So interesting point where, we all know that India has become the most populated country recently. With that, there was a lot of hype of, a lot of startups want to encroach a bit of Indian market, even from Europe, no matter like who I'm speaking from, wherever that I'm been visiting, or like any foreigner who comes to this part of the world as well. They want to have a bit of Indian market. How do you see the BharathGen or your work especially can help them to understand the Bharat market or the Indian market?
Okay, so we understand our problems better, right? I can give you a simple example. Now, one of the challenges that we face, this is across the world, even in Sri Lanka, about 150,000 to 200,000 children are born with congenital heart disease, and maybe a very small percentage of these people, children are detected, newborn child born with a congenital heart disease, and quite a good percentage of them die before they reach their 21st birthday. Now this is a problem statement. So it all boils down to what is the problem that you are going to solve, right? I do know the challenges in India, right? We have, when I look at infrastructure, India is very large. I have places which is very remote, and I have children being born there and congenital heart disease not being identified. Now, this is the problem that I want to solve. The next immediate question is, what is the data available? Now, I know the challenges. I know the doctor patient ratio, the doctor, how Anganwadi workers work, how Asha workers work. They are not doctors, but no, they are more of healthcare workers. Now I understand the problem. Now I need to see how I can solve this problem. I don't think from the AI perspective. I look at the big picture and say, hey, these are the challenges that I'm facing. How am I going to solve this problem? And AI can become a component, and AI is becoming a component. So rather than looking at AI to solve a problem, understand what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and what is the data you have, what is the quality of the data, and what is the metrics that you're looking at, right? Metrics can be qualitative. I can say, I want to identify 99.5% of the people with congenital heart disease, right? In that case, I would say, hey, let me increase the false positives. So that is the type of, you define the business problem, and AI can definitely solve, and domain specific language models are something which can definitely solve this problem.
Right. I think that was one of the brilliant ideas, the conversations we've had today, especially for the people who are looking at the India market and also building AI-based solutions to the Asia, especially. You can keep this in your mind. And thank you very much, Dr. Baskaran, for coming here and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.